Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody. Yeah, quick turnaround. Game 2 of Big Ten play against a very, very underrated and very, very good Iowa Hawkeye team. Coming off of Rutgers, I thought it was our best performance on both sides of the ball. Obviously, the defensive numbers I thought were a little bit skewed, but I thought we did a pretty solid job there. And then offensively, I love the way we played, the assists, the efficiency, the turnovers were down. And, I really thought we had the opportunity to kind of step on them and put the game out of reach. It's something we have not been doing. And I thought we were able to do that, but, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about that game. We kind of moved on from that right into to Iowa. Iowa's really good. This is a much different Iowa team than any of us are used to seeing. Obviously a Luka Garza dominated team in the past, with really good wings and Frederick and Wieskamp. Now this team is different. This is as athletic a team as there is in the Big Ten. This team is, Bohannon is still there. Seems like he's been there for forever. And again, he hasn't changed. He's still the Big Ten's all-time leading three-point shooter for a reason. But this is a team that is extremely, extremely athletic. The twins, both Murrays are scary athletes. The Perkins kid really started to emerge last year in the Big Ten tournament. He is playing terrific. He's a 6'4", very strong, 215-pound athlete who's playing great. And then Joe Toussaint has really stepped into a leadership role on that team. Is playing with tremendous confidence. He's an elite defender. And then I think that, the emergence of Patrick McCaffery, 6'9" slasher athlete, gives them length, gives them athleticism. This team's maybe not as big and as inside oriented, but they are electric in transition. They're pressing, and a team that is maybe as potent offensively as they were last year. They're just doing it in some different ways.
Brad, looks like Keon Murray is expected to be back tomorrow. Is that your expectation?
I would expect that, yes. I always expect guys that are listed out to come back and play against us.
And because Geo Baker wasn't there, the second game in a row where you have an interesting prep, how does that change what you do in practice?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're planning on him playing. Reading Fran's comments after the Purdue game, he thought he would play in the Purdue game, so it just made common sense that he would be ready for our game on Monday, being at home. And it's early in the year. You're trying to get guys as healthy as you can, yet it's a Big Ten game. So, he'll be ready. He's had 2020 games. He's electric in the open court. He's that guy that, he's what a pro looks like today. He can go get it off the glass. He can take it coast to coast. He can dunk on you. He's finishes with either hand. He's shooting it not as well as his brother, but he's shooting it at a high clip. So we're expecting him to play and be a big part of our game plan, trying to stop it.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, after the game against Rutgers on Friday night, you mentioned how Trent and DeMonte, the first thing they said in the locker room after the game was, "We haven't beaten Iowa in Iowa City." What do you think it means to those two guys to be able to go in there and get a win on Monday night if you are able to come out with one?
No, I mean, I think I don't think we put any more value on any one game. There's 20 of them. And yet there's little sidebars all season long which you try to, you try to eclipse, you try to do something that maybe you haven't done. You set little goals for every game. And that's one that those guys have talked about. And we were able to do some positive things in terms of winning on the road last year. And this year's a new team, a new challenge. And Iowa City's been one of those places that we haven't conquered yet.
And what is it about playing in Iowa City that's difficult? Obviously, it's an interesting arena and whatnot, but what is it about that environment that makes it difficult to go in there and come out with a win?
Really good coach, really good players. And that's, I mean, it's hard to win in those places. It's hard to win in any venue when you've got a really good coach and you've got really good players on the other team. This team, I'm telling you, is going to compete for a championship. Iowa's that good. And, they've just reshifted. They got great depth. And this is a really good Iowa team.
Hey, Coach, you talked about Coleman's defensive upside to go from Harper to Keon Murray to have Race Thompson in the league, Diabate at Michigan. How important is he just knowing that EJ Liddell as well, like the guys in this league at the 4 spot and being able to have an answer for them with his length and athleticism?
Yeah, it's probably the position we've got the most pros this year in our league. And they happen to be dominant players and we've got to be able to throw different looks at them. And that's my, it's been my point of emphasis all year with him, Derek, is knowing what's in front of us and knowing what we're going to see in the league. And in conference play this year, we've got tremendous talent at that spot. And we've got to be able to neutralize that the best we can.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, we're going to talk to Luke here in a couple minutes, I guess, after you. What stood out about him as a freshman? It just seems really at the front of a lot of things, which stands out on a team that has so many veterans and seasoned guys.
Yeah, Luke's unique. And I say this because he's got unrivaled leadership abilities. I mean, he's not afraid. He has always been a leader. You can tell, you see his quarterback come out in him from his high school football days. But he has always been a leader. And to do that, you got to be unafraid. And you got to be unafraid when you say something. You got to be unafraid when you play. He is ultra competitive. That's made him, he wants to run the fastest mile. He wants to make the most threes in a row. He wants to make the most free throws. He is an ultra competitor, and that's helped him stand out early, and it's helped him make the adjustment. Then when you put his abilities with his IQ and those leadership qualities, you've got a guy you've been able to push fast forward and hit it a few times, and it's expedited his growth pretty quickly.
What has that on-court growth been since you first got him in the summer?
Yeah, just like anybody else, like any other freshman, trying to figure out who you can guard and how to guard and how physical it is. And maybe some of the shots you get offensively in high school, you don't get now, but most of his growth has been on the defensive end. He's shown he's a capable scorer and shooter. That's really stood out from day one.
And sorry, if I could get one more, is there an update on Andre's availability for tomorrow?
Same status.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, just, after Friday's game against Rutgers, just what on maybe both sides, offensive, defense, do you see as repeatable that this team can maybe easily keep doing?
Well, most of it's not the physical part, Scott. Most of it's the mental part. That's what I want to push repeat on is, I thought our approach, I thought our focus, I always challenge our guys to never play the opponent, to play against themselves and to play the game the right way. We had some lapses, when we were up 30, but those anger me, those frustrate me. And I think that that's the way we've got to try to approach the game from a mental standpoint 20 times in league play. And those are the things I thought we were focused. I thought we were dialed in. I hope our effort is never an issue. But, you know, I thought we played really hard. And so the mental side of it's what I'm challenging our guys to is, I mean, you've got 20 of these and you take a mental nap and you lose. It doesn't matter who you play. And so that's what I want to try to duplicate again and again and again.
It's not counting last year because the schedule is so different, but the Big Ten's had 4 years, I suppose, of these early conference games. I'm just curious, kind of what you think about it now, maybe compared to year one when you got here, and maybe what the Big Ten has accomplished with these early games.
Oh, I totally understand why we play them. I mean, we're sitting there kind of in a lull between the end of football regular season, between the bowls. I understand the early games, and then I think it's important that we understand that you have to play them early to play 20, to not just have a mosh pit of games where you then throw safety and you throw travel and you throw fatigue late in the year. And I think that's what this does. I think they're harder to prepare for. You don't know as much about your team in early December, but I understand why we're playing them, and the importance and the relevance of these games is huge, because you sure don't want to start 0-2 going into January knowing you got 18 in front of you.
Right. Thanks, Brad.
Brad, I go back to the last game you played at Carver Hawkeye, and in a game they won, Joe Toussaint is shooting for an hour after the game while we're writing, because he realizes, to use your language, you just dorked him and kind of backed off him. I'm curious if the scouting report on him has drastically changed over the last couple of years, and you have to play him different.
Absolutely. He's I remember seeing Joe in high school. He was that guy that had the reputation of the guy who can't shoot. I'm not saying he's Bohannon shooting it, but he's drastically improved, and he's the thing now is he's a willing 3-point shooter. He's not backing off of that. Now, when I say that, he is elite in the paint, elite, and he's got great touch. He's got great strength, so he knocks guys off and can get it off. I think 84% of his field goals are in that paint area this year, but he's very much improved, and he's truly a menace on the defensive end.
Are you seeing a difference with Iowa this year simply because they don't have Luka? And I'm asking maybe specifically on the defensive end, maybe a more intensity and maybe a more a grittiness to them on that end of the floor because they have to get stops now?
They're pressing. They're trying to force turnovers. And let's not make a mistake. They're gifted offensively now. They're averaging 97 points a game. They're playing fast. They're pressing for a reason. Do they have a great interior presence? Big Kid's pretty good. They can throw some guys at you. They're doubling constantly in the post, but their strength is that press and then what they do on the offensive end, because they've got a ton of weapons on the offensive end. And it's amazing they lose 2 pros and another transfer. And in a lot of ways, I think this team's better offensively.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, kind of expanding on that a little bit. You called Iowa underrated and you called them a contender. I think people, when Garza graduated, thought maybe they wouldn't be a contender. How impressed are you by what Fran's done with this kind of transformation on the fly from Garza ball to explosive athletic ball?
I think the one thing I've always appreciated about Fran and his staff, they do an incredible job of evaluating and playing to their strengths, and their strengths lie on the offensive end. And I mean, you're talking about now development. I mean, Luka Garza was a backup on his AAU team. now National Player of the Year. You know, I think Murray's only other offer may have been Western Illinois. And now he's going to be a lottery pick. So it's a style, it's a system, the ability to evaluate to their system and style. It's very impressive. And then he's done it by building depth. And, you know, Toussaint was a guy that, you know, as a freshman was just okay. And now all of a sudden, you know, he's stayed the process and he's grown and he's become a really a good player. We saw the emergence of Perkins last year. You know, now all of a sudden that guy's leading them and scoring, you know, in their last ball game. And, you know, both of his sons are good players. So it's been a very impressive job of evaluating and filling to their system and what they do. And, you know, it's my hat's off. They do a great job.
Coach Weber, Bruce Weber used to always say he liked to recruit football players. And you brought up Goody's quarterback background. Do you have stories of quarterbacks you've recruited? Or, I mean, that leadership at such a young age at a quarterback is special. It really is kind of a neat trait, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unique today because nobody plays two sports anymore. You know, we've become so individualized. I mean, kids in the 5th grade are, you know, selecting one sport they play. So it gets harder and harder to find them. I've always been a big advocate of play them all. And, you know, we become so specialized. It's really hard to find guys like that anymore. But, you know, Luke has got a grit. He's got an intelligence. So I call it a lack of fear. You know, he took a shot the other night that I wasn't ultimately pleased with because it was really quick in the clock, but it's a shot he makes and he's not afraid to take it. And, you know, that's going to play really well for him and for the rest of his career.
Thank you.
Brad, apart from Bello, what's the injury and illness status for the guys who've been out or been sick? Getting closer. So we've got active participants in practice now, so that's good. But to say we're all you know, back to 100%, we're probably like everybody else in the country, Rob, that's got a few lingering things. So, but we got active guys in practice again. And Trent specifically? Trent's back in practice, and you know, Trent's going to gut up and play through anything. So to say he's 100%, he's gaining ground on that, but you know, he'll be good for 35 minutes tomorrow. Okay, thanks.
I guess as a follow-up to that, I mean, I know you had, you know, the one practice last Saturday that you basically just kind of wiped out, but over the last 2 weeks, how different have your practices looked? Maybe not being able to have everybody or do all that you want or needed to do.
Yeah, again, it's the thing I struggle with is it's November and early December. It's get better time. And so, you know, some of those years in the years past, we could really grind on guys and get better and dive into certain things and have, you know, practices where we stressed them. And we're getting there. We had a couple of those last week before the Rutgers game. Yet, you know, you can't cut off your hand to spite your face. You know, you got to be able to go try to win a game. So we're trying to manage that the best we can, Scott.
Thank you.
Coach, your last couple of opponents haven't been forcing turnovers a whole lot defensively. To go back to facing a more aggressive style, a pressing style, are you more confident in being able to handle that maybe than you were 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and we'll find out. But yeah, you know, it's crazy. Our turnovers, even when we faced teams that pressed us, weren't against the press. Or, you know, we went the whole game against Marquette, never turned it over against press. Our turnovers just came in the half court and lack of execution and illegal screens and travels and you know, half court things. It's not where we were throwing the ball to the other team. And so I love this team because we can pass it. I think that we've seen a lot of pressure. We haven't seen, maybe 40 minutes of it like Iowa's going to play it. But again, I think it's something that we're comfortable with. And I think we're settling in the half court a little bit.
Thank you.